All right, let's dive in. We're about to tackle a massive topic, the history of Iran. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of years packed into one explainer. This is a story of epic empires, incredible resilience, and revolutions that literally changed the world. It all starts with one of the oldest continuous civilizations on the planet. So, you ready? Let's get into it. The Persians are the first historical people. Wow, that's a pretty bold statement, right? It comes from the famous philosopher Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. And you know what? He wasn't just being dramatic. What he meant was that the ancient Persians were really the first to build what we'd recognize as a true state, an organized empire connecting all sorts of different people under one roof. That idea? It's the perfect launchpad for our entire story. So before we can even get to those huge, famous empires, we've got to rewind. Way back. The story of Iran doesn't just pop into existence with kings and conquerors. Nope, it starts much, much earlier, on the Iranian plateau, which was a true cradle of civilization. We're talking about roots that go incredibly deep. Okay, just take a look at this timeline. It really puts into perspective the sheer scale we're dealing with. We're starting at 6000 BC. That's when early farming communities were thriving in the Zagros Mountains, long before the word Persia even existed. Then you jump forward to 4000 BC, and you've got the state of Elam, one of the first real states in the area. And then around 1000 BC, the Iranian peoples, like the Medes and Persians, arrive. It all culminates with the Median Empire, which is the first time these groups are unified. This is the moment that really sets the stage for everything that's about to happen. All right, now we hit the classical era, and this is where Iran just explodes onto the world stage. We're talking about a period of more than 1,000 years, where a succession of Persian empires didn't just rule the region, they've literally defined what it meant to be a global superpower in the ancient world. This timeline, it's basically a highlight reel of 1,000 years of dominance. First up, you've got Cyrus the Great and his Achaemenid Empire, the biggest thing the world had ever seen, a true marvel of multicultural governance. Then, even after Alexander the Great comes through, the Parthians rise from the ashes and become a major thorn in the side of the Roman Republic. And finally, the Sasanian Empire comes along. And for the next 400 years, they cement Persia's place as one of the two undisputed superpowers on the planet, right alongside Rome. And this is such a crucial point. That Sasanian period is often seen as the absolute peak of pre-Islamic Persian civilization. For 400 years, they weren't just a rival to the Roman and Byzantine empires, they were their equals. Their cultural influence was just massive. We're talking art, science, and political ideas spreading all the way from Western Europe to China. They were a true global force. But, no empire lasts forever. This incredible era of dominance came to a really sudden and dramatic end. In the 7th century, the Islamic conquest swept through Persia, and it completely reshaped the nation. It was one of those moments in history that changes, everything. And yet, and this is the amazing part, it couldn't extinguish Iran's unique identity. So the Sasanian Empire falls pretty quickly, and over the next couple of centuries, Islam gradually becomes the main religion. But here's where the story takes a fascinating twist. You'd think that would be the end of Persian culture, right? Wrong. It didn't just survive, it actually thrived. You had Persian administrators, scientists, and poets who became the backbone of the new Islamic world, helping to kickstart what we now call the Islamic Golden Age. The Persian language, the art, the traditions, they all lived on. This all leads to a really cool concept, a key theme in Iran's history called Persianization. Basically, it's the idea that Iran's culture was so powerful, so influential that it often absorbed its own conquerors. Just think about it. The Turks, the Mongols, they'd invade and take over, but pretty soon they were the ones speaking Persian, adopting Persian customs, and funding incredible Persian art. It's like the culture was so strong, it ended up conquering the conquerors themselves. Pretty amazing, right? Okay, let's jump forward in time now all the way to 1501. For centuries, Iran had been ruled by outsiders. But now, a new native dynasty, the Safavids, comes to power and reunites the country. And what they do next is, it's arguably the single most important decision in shaping the identity of the Iran we know today. And that big decision leads us right to this question. Most of the Muslim world is Sunni, so how on earth did Iran become the global center of Shia Islam? What happened? Well, the answer, in a word, is the Safavids. So here's what the Safavids did. They didn't just bring the country back together. They totally reshaped its soul. They declared Twelver Shia Islam the official state religion. And then, and this is the key part, they converted the population, which at the time was mostly Sunni. This was a massive undertaking, often done by force, and what it did was create this very distinct, unique religious identity for Iran, setting it apart from its powerful Sunni neighbors, especially the Ottoman Empire. Really, this moment laid the foundation for the modern nation-state of Iran. And that brings us to our final chapter, the struggle for modern Iran. The last 250 years or so have been, well, incredibly turbulent. We're talking about a period of decline, a ton of foreign interference, a really intense push to modernize, and then finally, a revolution that shook the entire world. After the Safavids, we get the Qajar dynasty. And honestly, this was a really tough time for Iran. The country's power was fading, and it got caught right in the middle of the Great Game. That's the strategic rivalry between the massive British and Russian empires. Iran was basically stuck between two giants and couldn't really fight back. And this table, it really shows you the devastating price of that weakness. After a couple of disastrous wars with Russia, Iran had to sign these humiliating treaties. Look at the land they lost. Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Huge chunks of territory that had been in their orbit for centuries. As you can imagine, this created a powerful feeling among the people that their leaders were just too weak, that they were selling the country out to foreigners. So, in 1925, the Qajars are out and the Pahlavi dynasty is in. Their big plan? Modernize Iran, and fast. With strong backing from the US and the UK, the Shahs pushed through these sweeping Western-style reforms. But here's the catch. It was all very top-down, very autocratic. Sure, it created economic growth and a new middle class in the cities, but it also really alienated religious conservatives and, frankly, left a lot of the rural poor behind. This created some serious, deep-seated tension in the country. And eventually, all those tensions, they just boiled over. In 1978, massive protests started breaking out all over Iran. Things moved incredibly fast. By January 1979, the Shah was forced to flee the country. Just a couple of weeks after that, the leader of the revolution, Ayatollah Khomeini, makes his historic return from exile. And by April, it was official. The 2,500-year-old Persian monarchy was gone, and in its place, the Islamic Republic of Iran was declared. And the transformation was immediate and total. A pro-Western monarchy was swapped out for a theocratic republic, one built on a fiercely anti-Western ideology. Industries were taken over by the state, laws were changed to fit Islamic principles, and the entire direction of the country just did a 180-degree turn. This set Iran on a collision course with the West, particularly the United States, a conflict that, as we all know, is still very much alive today. So, there you have it. From being the first historical people to becoming a modern Islamic republic, Iran's story is just this incredible mix of continuity and radical change. It's a place defined by its unbreakable culture, its epic imperial past, and a powerful revolutionary spirit, which of course leaves us with one final massive question. After all these thousands of years of empire, resilience, and revolution, what will Iran's next chapter be?